This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, saving your day from boredom with the best podcasting entertainment.
What's up, real MVPs? What's up, super fans? Ricky Widmer here, along with Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
And Sean Anderson.
How long have I had to think about like a thing that, like a cute thing to say?
We did 4 seconds about 12 minutes ago.
Yeah. And I knew you were coming to me after Dave, too. I still don't know what to say.
Well, we'll figure something out. It's weird that I had to go to Dave
for
first.
A while.
Yeah,
you just
maybe we'll outsource it to the comment section.
Yeah, let's let the comment section decide what your intro is.
How about we do this? We add it to the $5 Patreon tier where every single week
Sean's intro is decided.
They get to pick what your saying is.
All right.
They pool it together and then we
as long
you
as
vote
it's not
on
something
it.
rough.
You get the right to.
I mean, if it's like I'm
veto
a pretty princess, I'll say that. I don't care.
So we'll add that to the $5 tier. They get to like suggest what you will say. But welcome into Super Fans, where we talk about everything Chicago sports: the Bears, the Bulls, the Cubs, the White Sox, the Hawks. And today is a special one. It is all Chicago Bulls season starting up. I think for us we start Wednesday, so the season starts Tuesday. Our first game is Wednesday, and we're going to be talking about all Bulls all the time. Zach LaVine, Kobe White, Lauri Markkanen, the big three that we're hitting. Before we get into it, though, make sure to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. If you want to suggest what Sean should say at the beginning of a podcast, make sure to join that $5 tier. You can also suggest what we talk about on a podcast. $1 tier, you get in on our Discord, and the $10 tier, you get to join us super fans if you want. And we talk about what you would like to talk about. Sam was on just last week. We talked Bears with Sam, I think. Talking bye week. I know we talked with Sam also about the Blackhawks here on Superfans as well. But we're looking at 3 guys today. Zach, Kobe, Lauri Markkanen. I want to start with the big dog, though. And that is Zach LaVine. No, not Roman Reigns, Dave. Like Dave's that.
Thanks, Michael Cole.
Wait, we're going with
the big dog.
The big dog. No, but we're talking with Zach LaVine, and these were comments that he made last week. I want to say where he was kind of like, "Well, why can't I be an all-star?" He even threw out the word all-pro.
Yeah.
So the question that I want to just throw out there, and we'll talk about today, Dave. We'll go to you first. Will Zach LaVine? I'm not going to go up and ask you, will he be an all-pro? I feel like I know the answer to that question. Mm-hmm. But will Zach LaVine be an all-star this year for the Chicago Bulls?
Yes. Simple terms, yes, he will be. Why? Because I think this year he's finally going to have the supporting cast healthy around him. He's got someone who can facilitate so he can work off ball a little bit better. Sato being a amazing kind of utility tool out there, going to be playing some point, going to be playing some wing for them. But it adds another primary ball handler for Zach, so he doesn't have to shoulder that entire load. Really, as long as Zach can stay healthy, the sky's the limit for him. He's looked really good in this preseason, and I know preseason means jack all, but I'm still going to put some credit in there because he actually is expending effort on defense. He came out publicly talking about when reporters were asking, about it. He's like, it doesn't feel good to have people pick at my defense publicly and comment on it. So I'm going to try to be better at it. I'm going to be disruptive. He's going to make that effort. So he's saying the right things. He's doing the right things. His shot still looks as good as ever. And now that he doesn't have to carry the entire ball handling load for running an entire offense, I'm really excited to see him move forward this year. Yeah,
the big thing I'll throw out there, Sean, before we go to you, that kind of blew my mind. I know it's preseason, but he's shooting 56% from beyond the arc. So, I mean, I don't expect him to shoot that well all season, but if it's higher than the, 35 that he had last season, that's what I'm looking forward with Zach.
I think the most interesting thing that's come out, at least from the preseason, is not anything from the actual stat lines.
Pretty
because I mean, it's been maybe 3 or 4 games. I think the most interesting stuff though has been coming from Boylan and the fact that he's obviously finally coming out and saying that they're going to be a modern basketball team and not be taking contested twos early or in the middle of a shot clock. They're only going to do that in desperation, which is smart, and they're going to go and look for those outside shots and make sure that they can get those open. And you could see that, at least in Zach's preseason so far, that he's taking much less twos, especially much long, jumper twos and not ones, near the rim. So he's going to try to become what we see a modern day NBA player be, driving to the rim and making most of his shots there or shooting from the outside. And if he does become that type of player, I think we can definitely see a jump from Zach LaVine. Now, the all-star thing is tricky. Do I think he can be an all-star caliber player? Yes, and I think he was that last year as well. You look at what he was doing, at least in the first 51 games up to the all-star break last year. He had 23 points, 46.2% from the field, 35% pretty much from the line. I mean, you're putting up 23 points a night. I mean, you're in elite category when it comes to scoring. Not a lot of guys are getting above 20 a night. So when you're up in that area, you're obviously not James Harden level getting 36 a night, but you are in that next level of scoring. So, and that usually attracts fan votes. It usually attracts some attention. He already has a name as well for what he has done at the dunk contest. So I think that he is in that all-star caliber type player. Now, will he become one? I think that's a different question because you have to be on a team that's winning. You have to be a team that is, or at least a player that is, kind of making a lot of headlines. And Zach started off the season doing that with his start of 30 games, 30 points per game, 30 points, 33 points, 34 points, 32 points, 4 straight games with 30 points. He was absolutely on fire in the first 4 games to start off the season. If he has a string of that where it goes through, to 8 games or something crazy like that, I think he was the first player since Jordan to have 4 straight 30-point games to start off a season. If he has stuff like that where he's making headlines and putting himself in more elite categories, then I think that he can at least become an all-star this year. But it's not just, will his play make him an all-star, because it does, come into fan voting and everything like that. So do I think he's an all-star caliber player? Yes. Will he be one? That's a different question.
And I'm going to go one step further, because the one answer I'm glad I didn't get was I was expecting could Zach LaVine be an all-star? Well, of course. Kawhi's in the West now. So that opens up the spot.
You're the only person who thinks that way.
I'm glad I didn't get that answer.
You're the only person who's like, hey, the weak East.
I'm gonna go one step higher for Zach, and I'm glad I can finally do this because we're not on the fast break. We're on Super Fans.
Sure.
Zach LaVine's gonna be an all-pro player this year, all NBA team. He's gonna make one this year. It'll probably be third team. I'm not saying he's gonna make first team. He's gonna make second. He will be a third all NBA player this year, and the reason why is last year, really good year for Zach. You look at the stats. You look at everything, like he was shooting really well, 46% from the field. He was scoring about 23, almost 24 points per game. The 3-point number, 37 isn't bad, but if he can improve on that, that's like I said, the thing in this preseason I'm love seeing is that he's jacking up about 6.5 per game, and he's making that 3.5. And can we see a better 3-point shot this season as the regular season rolls along? There's 2 players I look at to where you might say, well, Ricky, whose spot is he going to take? If you look at Blake Griffin and Kemba Walker last year.
Okay, well, first off, Blake is a forward. You can't take a forward spot as a guard.
Kemba Walker. The thing I look at is I look at their stats from last year, eerily similar. Yes, Kemba had 1 more point per game, but defensively, Zach, if we're looking stat-wise, was a little bit better. Had about 0.2 more steals. They had about the same blocks per game.
That doesn't.
The only thing, Zach shot better than Kemba last year. The only thing that Kemba had on Zach was that he had more assists. And is that the thing that Zach needs to do to make an all-pro team, an all-NBA team is, hey, he's got to have more than the 4.5 assists that he had last year.
Pretty good for a 2-guard.
Yeah, and I mean, Kemba's assist numbers last year was 5.9. So he was having almost about assist and a half per game than Zach was. It's I'm looking at that and I'm going, especially Kemba Walker going over to Boston, where it's going to be different than the Hornets, where the Hornets was basically Kemba Walker, he's the team. Boston's not going to be that. Is his numbers going to take a little bit of a hit? His play going to be different, and that could open the door for Zach to be an All-NBA player.
Kemba, when he was on a better team, is a better defender than Zach LaVine. Kemba Walker is not a horrible defender, and you look at the numbers that he has produced when he's on a team, especially in that 2014, 2013, 2015 range, when this Charlotte team was better and they're not dealing with Nicholas Batum's awful contract and they're going to the playoffs, he had a defensive rating that was very respectable, around 105. So he can prove that he can be a better defender, and maybe next to Marcus Smart and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, some of these guys that are trying to take steps up defensively, that we will see Kemba Walker show that he is a very good defender. He can be a good defender when he has the teammates around him. He wasn't playing with any of those elite talented players last year, and I don't know if Jason Tatum's elite yet, but he definitely has the potential to become one. I think same for Jaylen Brown. Marcus Smart is already an elite defender, so I think defensively Kemba Walker does have the edge. And yes, Kemba's switching places, but one thing that Boston is for sure going to be is a playoff team. And you look at that All-NBA team, out of the 15 players, only 2 players did not make the playoffs on their team. Kemba Walker, who was a better guard last year on a non-playoff team, just like Zach LaVine. That's why he made it. And then LeBron fucking James. So it's going to be very hard for Zach LaVine to become an All-Pro if he's not making the playoffs, if the Chicago Bulls are not making the playoffs, and to kick out any of these players. Because, the one that I think is probably the most vulnerable to be lost, I think there's probably 2. Harden's still going to be up there. If Curry stays healthy, he's going to be there. If Dame's there, he's going to be. If Dame's healthy, he's going to be there. Kyrie, I worry about just because he's had so many health issues before. I think that's more of a write-off than Steph because if Kyrie's injured, we don't know how that's going to really affect his game. Steph's been playing injured throughout his whole entire career. So if Steph's out for a little bit, I think Steph can jump right back into the swing of things probably more than Kyrie can. And Kyrie's been playing injured for most of his life as well. I just have seen it more from Steph, and Steph's just a better player than Kyrie. So, when they're coming back, I think Steph will have more of an easier time producing than Kyrie will. So I think Kyrie's spot is a little bit iffy, and then Russ's. Russ was also, he made his 8th All-NBA team last year. We don't know how he exactly is going to fit next to James Harden, and we don't know if he's going to be able to put up a triple-double again like he has for the past 3 years. So I think those 2 spots are probably the most vulnerable. Kemba Walker is a stud, and I know that you're bringing up the points and all that stuff and the assist numbers, but Kemba Walker is going to become a more efficient player this year, I think. He's usually around that 40% mark. This is his worst 3-point shooting percentage since 2014, 2015. Now you're giving him more offensive players. You have a great passing forward in Gordon Hayward as well. You have the ability for guys like Carson Edwards and Marcus Smart to bring up the ball. So I think that this team that relies on passing, getting guys open, Kemba Walker's percentages and efficient percentages are going to go up, and maybe his points go down, but we see Kyrie Irving on this same team make All-Pro, and I think Kemba Walker is in that spot that he is pretty much locked in to make it unless he has some atrocious year where this ball isn't being moved and he's shooting horribly from the field and he drops well below 20 points per game. I think Kemba Walker's a lock. I think the 2 that are up there for All-NBA guards would be Russell Westbrook and Kyrie Irving. But even then, I find it very hard for Zach LaVine to get into that kind of group of the top 6 guards in the NBA.
And I want to throw this out, Dave. I want to pitch the question to you and that's one of the reasons why I had looked at Blake Griffin when I was thinking about All-NBA is you think about Blake Griffin last year. If you're looking stats compared to Zach, they're fairly similar. One doesn't take a huge jump compared to the other. No, they're around would I say that Blake's was a little bit better?
Blake was was in categories, at least statistically, with LeBron and Giannis.
But
he was a top 5 player in the league.
I look at the shooting. I look at the field goal percentage. I look at the 3-pointer. It's like Zach wasn't leaps and bounds behind where Blake Griffin was. But you look at that Pistons team.
Blake Griffin's a forward averaging 5 assists per game.
I know, but the thing I'm looking at is it's a point that you brought up that's important. Is you look at that Pistons team with Blake. What did they do? They made the 8th seed. If they don't make the 8th seed, is Blake Griffin necessarily? Are we having a different conversation where it's like maybe he doesn't make that All-NBA team? How much did that play into it? I wanted to shoot this of what Sean said, where they have to make the playoffs. Dave, I believe you were with me with the Bulls making the playoffs this year.
Yes, sir.
How does it get done? How does it get done? Is it just the whole team being healthy? And is this just if Zach gets the 8th seed, he's an All-NBA player?
I think if Zach puts up 26, 5, and 5 on similar shooting splits that he had last year, then he's an All-NBA player. At that point, you have a playoff team, you have a scoring guard who is doing it all, and you have someone who is scoring in the upper, percent of the NBA in general at that point. I mean, there might only be 2-3 guys above him for points per game. I think that's the kind of an effort it would take to get him into this category. Without that, I agree, Sean, the playoff spot is critical. I think one of the big reasons why Zach didn't get that All-Star bump versus D'Lo was the fact that the Nets had been so surprising with you lose Karis LeVert, who looked like he was the guy on that team, and D'Lo stepped in and was able to be a true point guard for them and create his own shot and do everything else for them. He got that love because his team was able to win games and kind of surprise expectations. Meanwhile, the Bulls were just like a factory of injuries, sadness, and G-leaguers. And you don't want to promote bad players because it's Devin Booker syndrome. Like, you can't bring up Zach LaVine without Devin Booker in my mind, because Devin's just a better version of Zach right now. And when I look at it, it's just like, look, you're a very good player on a very bad team. This will be the year where everything lines up for Zach. If he doesn't make this opportunity count, then the question will always be there.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Bulls last year at the All-Star break had 14 wins. They were 14-44. So, I mean, you can't have that type of production going in and being an All-Star. I mean, that's just if you're on that bad of a team, it doesn't matter what your stats are. Yes, it's Devin Booker syndrome for 100%, but you look at all the guys that made it. Victor Oladipo made it. He was on a playoff team. He was also injured, but they obviously had a replacement. But he was on a playoff team. Russ was on a playoff team. LaMarcus was on a playoff team. Clay was on a playoff team. Jokic was on a playoff team. Vucevic was on a playoff team. Lowry was a playoff team. Middleton, Dirk was just a charity thing. D'Angelo was a playoff team. Blake was on a playoff team. Bradley Beal had a historic year of 5-5 and was shooting
while playing amazing defense and shooting incredibly
above average. Yeah, I mean 40%. I think was him shooting for three. And Bradley Beal also wasn't an All-NBA team player last year. And I think if he puts up numbers that we were seeing when John Wall went down of maybe near 27, 7 and 7, I do think that he's going to take a spot even if he's on a horrible team. He's just one of those elite players where I don't think Zach is in that conversation yet. AD is AD. You really can't. It doesn't matter if he's not on a playoff team. Pretty much the guys that didn't make the playoffs were Bradley Beal, AD, and Cat. I think were the ones, and then Kemba as well. So those are the three guys that were All-Stars last year that didn't make playoff teams, and all of those guys are elite and established. Kemba Walker's been a 3-time All-Star before. He's established as one of the top 5 guards, at least point guards, in the league. AD is a top 7 player in the league, and Bradley Beal, I think you could probably make an argument that he's probably top 15 now.
But is it because I write Bradley Beal off only because the Wizards aren't making the playoffs this year?
Well, that's the thing is where's the percentage?
But they were garbage last year as well.
Yeah.
It's because he's an elite two-way player. Probably, I mean, he's probably better than Clay.
But the thing,
he is.
He's.
I've been telling guys.
So I mean, you
the
look
thing
at
I'm
Clay
throwing
as an
out there
all-star
though
no matter
is,
what.
like you said, where you made like, what's going to help Zach is making the playoffs. Then Bradley Beal would not be an all-NBA team just because the Wizards aren't going to make the playoffs. Like, I don't think, unless they have like a surprising year to me, I don't see them as a playoff.
They should not be a playoff team. The point is that he actually plays on the other half of the court where Zach didn't. So that's sort of the separator there for me.
And they're very and Beal's also a better offensive player.
Yeah.
So the thing that Zach has on him, or you think has on him, would be offensively, but Bradley Beal is better offensively than Zach LaVine is. I mean, Bradley Beal is an elite player, and that's why he can make the All-Star game as a non-playoff team. And also, it doesn't matter what team he's on, at least for that fact, because he can't control that. Yes, he signed the extension, so he is kind of controlling his destiny a little bit there. But you really can't control the guys that are around you. You can't control John Wall not being there.
Yeah.
And I think with Zach too, it's just. I don't think Zach has established him yet as a guy that if he was traded to a different team, he'd be putting up these stats. If you took Bradley Beal and put him on the Lakers, he would be doing this, if not more efficiently. I mean, with LeBron James, with Anthony Davis, he might not be putting up 25 a night, but he's putting up 20 a night at 50, 40, and 90, or maybe I think he's never been above 90.
80.
Yeah, so he'd be like 50, 40, 80, playing elite defense. I mean, he would be a top guard in the league. He already is one. So, I mean, that's the thing is like a lot of these players are already established. And I don't think anyone looks at Zach LaVine as a game-changing, franchise-changing player yet.
Well, and I think that's okay. And the reason why I'm going to say, yes, I know with me coming out saying, hey, he's going to make an All-NBA team this year, people may be saying, well, Ricky, slow your roll, because we were talking before the podcast about like guys entering their prime and like what year that happens. Zach has made since coming over to the Bulls, the first year I'm looking just at scoring, of course, defensively this year, we're going to hope to see a jump from Zach, but like he came in as a 16 point per game guy, only played the 24 games.
Off of
he was
his
dealing
injury.
with the injury.
Yeah.
And the big he got the contract, and I was against it. I was like, why did we just let him walk to the Kings? And I am eating crow now. Zach, I love you. I'm sorry I doubted you. But that's just how I felt. I didn't have confidence in him. And then last year was the jump. Like, oh shit, this is what we could see from Zach. And he's what, 23, going to be 24 this year. He's not even entering, like he's entering the prime. It's 2 years away.
He's already 24.
Pre-prime. Well,
Yep.
24 then this year is what he'll be. He's pre-prime. He's going to be entering his prime. If we've already seen this jump, what kind of a jump should we see this year and before the prime? And that's what we'll kind of end with is this year, what do you think the year looks like for Zach as he continues to enter that prime, which the sky could be the limit for Zach LaVine if he has an increase like he did from 2018 to 2019.
Slow your roll with the sky's the limit. The sky limit is saying that he could be LeBron James or Michael Jordan. He's not going to be that good. I mean, I think he has a ton of potential for sure. I mean, you have this athleticism, you have this ability to shoot from the outside. He is definitely a modern player. He's perfect.
He's
for
an
the
incredible
modern
finisher
NBA.
too.
Yeah, you're great around the rim. You're great from the outside. That is perfect. He's not that good of a defender. You're eating up a ton of assists because you're mainly your point guard because you don't have a point guard. That's probably going to change with Satoransky. That's likely going to change now with Chris Dunn probably getting less minutes, but that's going to keep his health up there. So I wouldn't be shocked if the assist numbers go down. Can Zach average 25 points per game this year? Probably. Can he be around the same efficiency as he was last year, at least from three? I think so. I think that he would probably be around that 46, 36, 80, and then 25, 3.8, and then 5 range again. So, 25 points, 3.8 assists, and 5 boards a game. I think he's probably in that area. Is that all-star caliber? For sure. Is that all-pro level? No. But I think that if this team is near 500, I think that he can definitely put his name into that race of becoming an all-star. I think that if he's able to capitalize on the highlight-making playability and he's able to have a signature performance like a 40-plus game, 40-point plus game this year, and if he could have a signature game-winning shot or something like that, that's going to put him into the mind of the NBA public. And I think that he can probably hit that all-star mark, but it's going to be dependent on, making sure that he's hitting career highs pretty much every single month just to make sure that he can get to that level. It's definitely possible, but I would probably say that it's 50-50.
I think it is pretty possible. One of the things just off the bat is Bradley Beal wasn't an All-Star until his 24th year. Just to tag that out there, so it's not like he's
his 24th year on this planet.
Exactly. It's not like he's off track or anything in this case. And he, like you said, he already had a pretty big injury in his career that he fought through. Another interesting note is that after the Otto Porter trade, he had an incredible shooting split. I know, small game size, so take this with a little bit of asterisk or whatever, but he was putting up 26, 5.5, 5.5 on 50, 45, 75 shooting splits, taking 5.5 threes a game for that 17 game stretch after the Otto Porter trade. So I think that's probably undervaluing what he can do when you have other guys, other weapons on the offense around him. Because remember, this is a team where their windows never really lined up between having Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, Otto Porter, Lauri Markkanen, and Wendell Carter Jr. I don't think they played more than 5 games with that lineup, period. Like, there just was...
Someone's been injured at some point.
Someone or multiple have been injured. So when you add in a weapon like Otto Porter out there to space the floor, somebody else who can make shots happen, you see the immediate increase in three-point percentage because his quality of shots got so much better.
Just to at least give some thought to, because the Beal comparison is definitely interesting. Beal had a fantastic year the year before. He had a better year, actually, the year before he was an All-Star. But that team was a playoff team the year before as well. So I think they were 49-34 or something like that the year before he became an All-Star. And then the next year, they were 33-24 going into the All-Star break. So you think that if Zach LaVine's going to become an All-Star, they have to be around that range of record-wise. But the other thing, too, is that he was always drawing attention as well, because he had John Wall, because he had maybe not a superstar, but a very high profile counterpart next to him. And this was a team that was already getting attention because they were in the playoffs last year. And I think Bradley Beal, the playoffs before, had a very good playoff run as well.
Yeah,
so I think that was a lot of
the peak time for the Wizards and the Celtics series, the Wizards and the Raptors. Like there was always that hype around those.
So I think it's going to be very iffy on whether he makes it or not. I mean, he definitely has the points and the eye-drawing numbers, but like Bradley Beal, the year before he became an All-Star, 13 games, he was shooting 47.1 from the field, 28.7% from three, but he was putting up 24.8 points per game, at least in those 13 games in the playoffs. So I think that Zach doesn't have the prior playoff experience that I think is going to hurt him a little bit. He does have the dunk contest thing, which is going to help his profile a little bit more. And then it really just is going to come to what's around him and what this team's able to do. So is it possible? Yes, but I think there's are a lot of things that could go wrong that could possibly spoil a Zach LaVine All-Star bid.
Yeah, for me, the biggest thing with Zach is if he doesn't make the All-Star game or he doesn't make an All-NBA team, am I upset? No, maybe a little bit with the All-Star, depending on who gets in above him, especially if it's like someone that you have a case against. But for me, the biggest thing with Zach that I'm looking for is that growth. And for me, the three areas that I look at is I want a little, like you say, a little bit more scoring per game, 25. That ain't that much, though. Like when you look at the averages, it's only 2 points per game that he had last year.
Right.
Better defense.
It's technically 1.3.
1.3. Sean pushing.
I'm saying I think 26 is the number.
I wanted to say, but I know that was too high.
No, 26 is the number.
Defensively, if he can get better there, but like you mentioned, Dave, he's already that's already
made
on
it a
his
point.
mind.
Yeah,
to get better defensively.
He played 34.5 minutes last year, coming off an injury. I mean, so if he actually does play 36 minutes, his per 36 are 24.7 points per game. So it is probably possible if he does get a minutes increase to get to that 26 mark for you. I mean, for what you guys are looking at.
Yeah, and then the third thing is I want to see. I know that 37% isn't bad, but I would love 39-40 from beyond the arc this year. But I don't know if that's like me expecting too much out of him because I mean, you look at the best shooter in the
45 when they add Otto Porter.
You look at the best shooter in the game, Steph Curry, shooting about 43% last year.
Yeah, and
that was just off of last year's stat line. But I mean, I would love to see that.
It's also different because you're taking in spot up shooters, you're taking all that stuff. I mean, guys who actually
it's a different system. Too.
Yeah, I mean, guys who are actually playing over 60 games. The number of guys that are shooting 40% is pretty minimal. It's 30 guys, and even then, I don't know. Yeah, some of these guys are 3
once you start to take the attempts out of it.
Yeah,
it's like the Derrick Rose 3-point percentage, where
like
he,
Domantas Sabonis is the leader in 3-point percentage. So guys that are actually shooting high volumes, it's like Seth, Steph, Danny Green, Joe Harris, Buddy Hield, Brogdon. So I mean, getting to that 40% mark is elite of the elite, and I don't know if Zach is in that category.
And the last thing is, how healthy can this team be? Because I think that Zach can lead this team to the playoffs, but we all have to be out there healthy for that to happen. But you guys, let us know what you think down below. What are your expectations for Zach? Will he be an all-star this year? Could he be an all-NBA and all-pro player this year as well?
Players who played 60 games and took more than 5 attempts per game, there was 10 guys who shot above 40% last year. Zach was 20th with 37.4.
Okay.
So I mean, he's going to need to take a significant jump.
Well, you guys let us know what you think down below in that comment section.